The road to the upcoming movie Kong Skull Island continues, and I am continuing my series of King Kong reviews with my favorite incarnation, and I'm talking about today, King Kong 2005. Yes, that's right, Peter Jackson's King Kong. So let's get started right now. So Peter Jackson's King Kong is written, produced, and directed by Peter Jackson himself, the same director who gave us films like Heavenly Creatures, The Lovely Bones, The Lord of the Rings trilogy, and the very divisive Hobbit trilogy, and stars a cast of Jack Black, Naomi Watts, Adrien Brody, Thomas Krestchmann, Colin Hanks, Evan Parke, Jamie Bell, and of course Andy Serkis in the role of Kong. And this is a remake of the 1933 film the same name, and this movie came out in 2005. Now, the first time I saw this movie, I watched it on TNT, and I didn't know whether I liked this version. So then I watched the movie again a couple more times, and I absolutely just fell in love with this film. So, this film is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I'm going to talk about why this movie is my favorite film of all time. But first, before I get started, I will say right now, this review of this movie are going to contain some spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, you are free to leave, or if you don't care about spoilers, then you might want to just stay on and watch. But if you haven't seen the movie yet, I advise you to leave now. But if you have seen the movie, you probably know what's going to happen. Good, you're clear. So let's talk about this movie right now on my channel. So the plot of Peter Jackson's King Kong is we meet flamboyant, foolhardy documentary filmmaker Carl Denton, who is financially troubled with his new movie by the studio in 1933 during the Great Depression, and this movie takes place in New York. So he sails off to remote Skull Island to film his latest epic with Lady Lay and Darrow, and she finds out that her favorite scriptwriter, Jack, is writing the film. So native warriors kidnap Anne to use as a sacrifice as they summon Kong with the local witch doctor, but instead of killing Anne, Kong saves her, and Kong is eventually taken back to New York, where he searches high and low for Anne, eventually winding up at the top of the Empire State Building, facing off against a fleet of World War I fighter planes. So that's basically the plot of Peter Jackson's King Kong in a nutshell. Now, like I said before, in the beginning of the video, I absolutely love Peter Jackson's King Kong. This is my favorite incarnation of the King Kong character, and my favorite interpretation of the character on screen. This is how it's done. And Peter Jackson, he had a lot of heart about this movie. He was 9 years old when he first saw the film on TV, and he was in tears the first time when he saw Kong die in the Empire State Building, and so he attempted to recreate the film, and then so eventually King Kong became his favorite film, and he tried many years to get this movie off the ground. He tried doing it with the Partners and then all this other stuff. And so then he was, at the same time he was trying to get this made, he was also trying to get the rights to The Lord of the Rings, while 20th Century Fox was trying to hire him for the Planet of the Apes movie, but he turned down the 2001 Planet of the Apes, and so he decided to move forward with King Kong. And so after that, the film got shut down, and then he went on to go work on the Lord of the Rings franchise. And so, with the critical and financial success of the first two Lord of the Rings films, during the post-production of Return of the King, Universal talked to him about restarting the project, and then the movie got onto the ground. And the film originally had a $150 million budget, but then the budget rose to a $175 million budget, all the way up to a $207 million budget. And at the time, this was one of the most expensive movies at the time, and this movie is very expensive, from extra visual effects needed, and extending the film's runtime to over 30 minutes. And so he covered the $32 million surplus himself, and he was able to finish the film. And then other difficulties, including this, was the decision to change composers from Howard Shore to James Newton Howard. And James Newton Howard only had 7 weeks to finish the score before the movie opened. And so I have to say that the movie is very, very good. The cinematography in Peter Jackson's King Kong is good. I love the cinematography film. The movie is very... Peter Jackson knows how to shoot a really good movie, and this movie looks beautifully outstanding. It's very great too. It compares so well to the 1933 original, and I love this movie so much that I even played the video game on PlayStation 2, and the game, while it was hard, I still loved the game, and that game was just really good. And just the movie is just really good as well. All the acting and performances in this movie are really great too. You have a lot of great performances in here, and I have to tell you, when Peter Jackson casts a movie, he knows how to cast a really good movie, really good actors. And this is one of my favorite directors you're talking about. I talked about him last year with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and me and some of my YouTube friends did a 4.5 hour long retrospective on his Middle-earth saga. So that tells you right now, I have huge respect for Peter Jackson for what he did for the Lord of the Rings and for King Kong. The man is a visionary. He knows how to make a really good movie. While people complain saying his movies are too long, I feel like he's a director that likes having very long movies. And with The Return of the King, it's no exception. With this movie, it's no exception. He likes to have long movies. He does have some short ones, but he always likes to go for a movie with a long runtime. And also, this movie has a lot of cinematic and literary allusions. So Jack Black and the critics compare Carl Denham's similarity to Orson Welles. And when Driscoll is searching for a place to sleep in the animal storage hole, a box behind him reads, "Someone rat monkey be rolled to bite." That is a reference to creatures that causes mayhem in Peter Jackson's earlier movie Brain Dead. And there are a lot of references to earlier versions of King Kong in this movie. And I have to say right now that the first hour is really good. I heard some people say that the first hour of the movie is boring or is slow. It takes too long to get going. This movie is this movie is that. And I like the fact that it takes an hour for stuff to happen because you get in that hour, you get really good character development from all the characters. You get the setup, and you get how this movie is going to play out. And I guess the main problem with people with this movie is that the movie, it takes too long to get going, that they're already not interested. And like I said, Peter Jackson is known for making long movies. So if you're one of those people who didn't like the Lord of the Rings trilogy or the Hobbit trilogy, you're not really going to like this movie this much, because this movie, but Roger Ebert, he gave this movie 4 stars, and he put this as one of 2008's best movies. And I do like the fact of this, and I really do enjoy the film. And just people have also complained that this movie has racist stereotypes, but I think the racist stereotypes is fine. It's all I don't have a problem with it as long as they're not offensive. It's alright with me. And just, I think another issue people have with is that it's that the characters is not really all that. Some people call the characters lifeless, but the performances in this movie are terrific. You have an amazing cast of actors. You have Jack Black as Carl Denham. Like I said, he's a film director who has the map to Skull Island, and so they go there and film the movie. I think Jack Black is really good in this movie. I love Jack Black as an actor. I love Skull Rock. I liked him in Goosebumps. I like him in the first Kung Fu Panda. And then you also have, let me just say right now, Naomi Watts in this movie as Ann Darrow. She is amazing. in this film. I like Peter Jackson. They and his writers work very well to flesh out her characterization, and I think her characterization pays off in this movie. Also, you also have Adrien Brody as Jack Driscoll, and Jack Driscoll is I like his character. He is in love with Anne, and I feel like he's the main character in the movie. You also have the other performances: Thomas Krestchmann, who's Captain Englehorn, Colin Hanks as Preston, Jamie Bell as Jimmy, Evan Parke as Ben, Kyle Chandler as Bruce Baxter. Just you have a solid cast, and the cast in the movie is just really good. And Naomi Watts, Jack Black, and Adrien Brody were the first choices for Peter Jackson's roles. No other actors considered. And originally, Faye Ray, the original Anne Darrow, was supposed to do a cameo and say the final line of dialogue, but she died during pre-production of the movie at only 96 years old. So, I do admit, and the native extras on Skull Island, when you get to the Skull Island part where they kidnap Anne, I do admit, the movie starts to pick up from there. It starts to pick up from there. But now let's talk about the main character. The main character who I really want to talk about is Andy Serkis as King Kong. And he also plays the part of Lumpy, who is the cook, barber, and surgeon on the ship The Venture. And so Kong is, and he's really great as Lumpy for the screen time he has with that character, but when he comes in as King Kong, it's awesome. He has lived around 100, he is probably 120 and 150 years old. And Andy Serkis was just really great. He really got into the character, and the motion capture for him is just amazing. The Entertainment Weekly also put him as this version of King Kong as one of the best versions looking CGI characters, and I have to respect Entertainment Weekly for that, because I have a bunch of Entertainment Weekly magazines in my room. That's our little secret. And I actually do agree with Peter Bradshaw from The Guardian, who said that this movie certainly equals and even exceeds anything Peter Jackson did in The Lord of the Rings, and this is one of the most convincing computer-generated characters on the film. And I do agree with that. And I also, Roger Ebert, may he rest in peace, agrees with me as well. Like, this movie placed on a lot of top 10s from several critics, and that was cool. But when I went on Rotten Tomatoes to look at the score, I was kind of disappointed with the audience score. But the critical consensus clearly says that featuring state-of-the-art special effects, terrific performances, and a majestic sense of spectacle, Peter Jackson's remake of King Kong is a potent epic that's faithful to the spirit of the 1933 original. But the audience score is a 52%, while the critical score is a certified fresh 84%. And I have to say that the audience score does not need to be that low, but what can you do? Maybe it's because some people were coming off the hype train for The Lord of the Rings and they didn't feel like sitting through another 3 hour long movie again. But the one thing I have to praise Peter Jackson for with this movie is that how the way Skull Island looks. Skull Island looks pretty impressive. Is just very great. Awesome, and just Skull Island is a very creepy place, and you just get the feeling that's creepy things, and you have a lot of creepy stuff going on. And what Peter Jackson was able to accomplish with the production design of this movie was the look and feel. He made this movie feel like you were actually watching a horror movie at sometimes, but it's really a very epic monster movie, and that is like something I appreciate him with the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogy. He made every little detail accurate to J.R.R. Tolkien. But the way this movie looks, this is probably probably my 18th favorite accurate look. This is one of my favorite accuracy looks in a movie besides the Middle Earth and besides Hogwarts and besides space and Star Wars. That I do appreciate that aspect. And then Andy Serkis King Kong, again, this guy is amazing. I love this, and he went through 2 hours of 2 hours of motion capture makeup every day, and he spent additional 2 months on motion capture stage doing King Kong's movements. And Skull Island is inhabited by dinosaurs and other large fauna, and they actually made the dinosaurs look like 65 million years or more isolated evolution what it done to them. And that is why I think this movie is visually striking. You have a lot of great shots of cinematography in here. The late Andrew Lesnie did a great job with the cinematography in this movie as much as he did with the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And when you basically sit down and watch this movie, speaking of the runtime, the movie is 3 hours and 8 minutes long, and first time I watched it, I was a little bored, but on multiple rewatches, I get so immersed into the world that I'm not even worried about the runtime. And also, I have seen the extended version, which is 3 hours and 20 minutes. This version is 3 hours and 8 minutes. Whichever version you watch is gonna feel long, but it's worth it. And just the movie, the sound editing, the sound design is good, but the effects is where I think Peter Jackson excelled on his take of King Kong. Everything looks accurate. You have impressive effects, and it still boggles my mind that Andy Serkis has yet to get an Oscar nomination for motion capture. Maybe the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences just doesn't believe in motion capture performances. He should have at least got it. If not for Kong, he could have at least got it for Gollum or Caesar in the Planet of the Apes movies. And hey, I'm one of probably either some people or a few people who probably like The Adventures of Tintin, Secret of the Unicorn, and that was a really good motion capture movie. But I think here, when you do not want to go Skull Island, you're not going to get out. But then we get into the action sequences. The action sequences are nicely shot. I love the fight with the dinosaur and King Kong when they fight. That I was just sitting there, trying to hold how excited I was seeing that moment. And that moment there is where I was clapping rooting for King Kong. And when he fights three Vastasaurus Rex. He just fights this guy, fights them all off, and just that moment when he's fighting them is awesome. And then when they capture him and take him back to New York, and they knock him out with chloroform, that's where we go back to New York City. And again, New York City, the way it looks they made New York City actually look like the 1930s version of New York City, and that is something I give Peter Jackson credit for. He made New York City look like you were in New York City back in the 1930s. And also, Kong's expressions are just so incredibly awesome. He's really good. Andy Serkis did a great job with his makeup, with the expressions, and the expressions are just really, really good on him. And just, yeah. So again, back in New York City, Carl presents King Kong on Broadway as a display, starring Kyle Chandler's character and in the prison King Kong. And Anne is not the actual Anne. And when he becomes enraged that the girl on the stage is not in, she is a chorus girl. And when he breaks free from the chains, he wreaks havoc around the city and wrecks the theater, chases Jack and knocks him out. Stops his car and flips it, and then just the part. And I love that part when Kong just goes around the city wreaking havoc. He is mad as heck, and that he's just like roaring like that part. It was just awesome. I was sitting there. I was like, okay, he's mad. This is an angry guy, and when he just causes all his destruction, everyone's running like and then that moment, and you get a cameo by Howard Shore, which is Peter Jackson's frequent collaborator, and that was really cool. He's the conductor at the New York Theater from which Kong escapes, and when he escapes, when King Kong escapes, again, I'm telling you, it's badass, it's awesome. He's mad, he's enraged, he's furious. He's like chasing around the city until he finds Anne, and then he finds Anne, and then they share a moment on a frozen pond in Central Park, and then the army attacks. Then the army start attacking him, and then that's where you get that great shot from the 1933 film when King Kong takes Anne on top of the Empire State Building, and then they send planes down to kill him, and you have cameo appearances by Rick Porras as a gunner in the airplane, Bob Burns and his wife as bystanders. You also have New York children appearing, and you also have cameos by Peter Jackson and makeup artist Rick Baker as the pilot and gunner on the airplane that is used to kill him. And when they start shooting at him, he is mad. There are 6 F-8C-5 Helldiver Navy planes coming out. He takes down 3, but when that third one, he just jumps up, boom, it's gone, boom. And I was sitting there like, wow, he's taking his last stand. But at the end of the confrontation, King Kong is mortally wounded by the gunfire, and he gazes at Anne for the last time before falling from the building to his death. And so after that, Anne is reunited with Jack. Civilians, police, soldiers, photographers go around his corpse, and Carl takes one last glimpse, saying that it wasn't the airplanes, it was the beauty that killed the beast. And then that's where the movie ends from there. So yeah, that's it. Overall, Peter Jackson's King Kong is an amazing, underrated masterpiece. One of 2005's best movies. I love the acting. I love how accurate it is to the original. I love the spectacle. I love the cinematography. I love the acting. I love the script. I love the music by James Newton Howard, which I forgot to mention. His score is amazing. And I think this is still a great movie. And some people, like I said, some people are not going to like this movie because of how long it is, but it's not. It doesn't feel bloated. It doesn't feel too much getting crammed in. This movie feels really straightforward, and this movie did everything it set out to do. It not only paid tribute to the 1933 original, it also made me fall in love, make you love it more. And just, this movie is great. You definitely have to check it out. I would definitely recommend this to anyone who is a monster movie fan or a King Kong fan. But if you are not a King Kong fan or monster movie fan or a Peter Jackson fan, you're not going to like this movie much. But there are a lot of great things in here. And trust me, the first hour filled with character development is worth it. Then you can have the cool ass sequences and stuff. And in my opinion, this is still, to this day, my favorite incarnation of the King Kong character ever put on film. And there will probably be nothing else to top it. Peter Jackson outdid himself with this one. And that is why I am going to give Peter Jackson's King Kong my JD Rainbow Silver approval. And I'm giving it an A+. Well guys, that is it for my 2005 Peter Jackson King Kong review. This may have been a long one, but it was worth it. I've had a lot of fun talking about my favorite incarnation of the King Kong movie. And guys, I'm very excited for Kong Skull Island. And so far, I've seen the Rotten Tomatoes score, and I am impressed by the critical consensus. So let me know what you guys think of Peter Jackson's King Kong. Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's underrated? Does it get too much hate? Does it get too much love? And what is your favorite incarnation of King Kong? And are you excited for Kong Skull Island? Because I know I am. So, and if you like this video, you can come to my channel, like, comment, subscribe, and you can come here and we can all have a good time. I'll see you guys later.